Welcome into Beyond the Arc with Megan Gebbia, Dan Laing, Coach Gebbia, and first show of the year.
Yes, here we are.
Here we are. Young team. You guys have a team with a lot of freshmen, only 4 upperclassmen. Mm-hmm. Where do you see the team right now?
Right now, we're a little behind, I think, on the defensive end. They know that. We watched a lot of film after our first game yesterday, so they're well aware. But I actually am pleasantly surprised with the offense and how well, at least that starting core was running motion, which you never know going from a upperclassmen core of players last year to this year, how that's going to affect the offensive end. But it seems like right now, and even in practice, they've been able to put the ball in the basket. So that's the good part. So we just have another side of the basketball we have to work on. And once we get that together, I'm really excited to see where this team goes.
The 81 points, the most that an Eagles team that's allowed in an opener in at least 15 years. Is that something that you guys, I guess, how do you jump in on that and really dive deeper into the defensive side?
I will say that I thought Ohio U was a really hard team to open up with. Mm-hmm. They have, I think, like 92% of their scoring back from last year. And it's a team that runs a motion similar, not the same as ours, but similar to ours in the sense that there's a lot of off-ball action. And with a young team, they got caught ball watching a lot. And so it's just a hard offense to guard for us in general, especially with young kids. So I wasn't that surprised that our defense looked poor. I think it would have been better if we would have started with a team that ran sets and things we could kind of work with. But I'm not surprised, but then again, Villanova coming up is a motion team. High Point is the same thing. So it's maybe you could call it good scheduling by me, right? The first 3 games are similar.
Is there a method to that? Did you think about kind of that they run the same type of schemes?
To put them together?
Yeah.
I didn't initially, but I'm kind of happy that I did now because the first 3 scouts are going to be very similar. So it will expose us, but hopefully you'll see by the time we get to the 3rd game that our defense is a lot better.
And what are some things within that and some components that you want to really work on and rely on?
So I would say we're really trying to keep people out of the middle of the paint. So we're trying to force baseline a little bit more, I would say. Our help side isn't there all the time because there's action away from the ball. So it's like they're getting caught up in a screen that's happening and not realizing that somebody's driving to the rim. So that's happened a lot. The ball watching aspect and not like swiveling your head is happening. And then we're switching a lot. So the first game we switched to everything. So they have to communicate a little quicker and earlier. And part of that is just upperclassmen like taking control and pushing people around and telling them where to go. Because as soon as we sub, we have some freshmen coming in off the bench and a sophomore in Laura Graytalk who didn't play a ton last year, although I think she's doing well this year. It's just they haven't been out there and they don't have the game experience. And everything's ramped up. Like I think for the freshmen, they saw like, all right, we scrimmaged, right? We had some scrimmages and that went fine, but games are different, right? Practice is different speed, scrimmages are different speed, and then there's games. And I think you saw some stress from the youngsters in that first game, and hopefully that will kind of move to the wayside a little bit as we move on and they get more experience and then they feel a little more comfortable because they looked uncomfortable out there.
One of the things getting traction on social media from the Ohio game was India Sanders getting run over by the Ohio cheer team. Take us through that, and when you didn't find out about it until later.
Yeah, so we were on the plane coming home, and our director of basketball ops was looking at the game film and trying to put it on my computer and stuff, and she noticed during halftime warm-up, we were still in the locker room, so we didn't see it, that India went to go grab a ball off the rack, and the Ohio cheerleaders were coming out with their flags, and she just grabbed it and turned around, and he just nailed her. The first O in Ohio nailed her. She said she saw the H, I, and the O go by after she fell down, but I think she was taken back a little bit by that.
But she has a good sense of humor. So
she's been great.
If it would have happened to anybody, almost not that it's good that it happened to her, but if anybody, she's the one that probably took it the
best. Yeah, she said she's Twitter famous now, and people on campus have actually commented to her about her fall. So she's a pretty strong kid too. So she might have hurt the Ohio cheerleader. I'm not sure, but she did a great job, and she takes everything with a grain of salt. So I'm happy for India that she's a little more famous than she was last year.
And that's got to help her on the court as well. The fact that she takes a lot of things with a grain of salt, because if she she's having a bad game, she can put it behind her. And frankly, if she's having a good game, she can also put that behind her because she's got to move on and do things in the future.
Yeah, well, I made a joke about it after because she played a much better second half than she did first half. So maybe that nail by the cheerleader helped her, right? So maybe we just have to do that at halftime, have somebody run into her every game. But yeah, so I think it's good for her. She needs to have a big year this year. She needs to take on a more scoring role, and we've talked about that. And I think in practice she shows me that she can, but she hasn't really done it in games, and I'm trying to prod her to do more in games right now.
Now, one of the things that you're looking at doing is Katie Marini not doing as much in the 1, but moving maybe to the 2 and seeing Emily Fisher and Sanders a little bit more in the 1.
Correct.
Talk about that decision.
And we talked about that last year in the spring, and I just felt like because Katie has the ability to put baskets in, like she's a shooter, when you run the point, a lot of times you're worried about setting people up to score, and I think Emily Fisher does that really well. I think India does that really well, and they like to have the ball in their hands a little more, where Katie's fine running the lane and shooting and attacking, and I think it's taken some pressure off Katie because she is a good ball handler. She's got a point guard brain, but I need her to score, and she's loving this role right now. I mean, she's calling for the ball all the time out on the court, whether it's practice or games. I hear her calling for it when people drive, so she wants that role. She wants to step up and be the leading scorer this season. So I'm excited to see what happens. And the other thing we'll say, she may play some point depending on the other 2 and if they get in foul trouble. So we'll see what happens.
See as the year goes how everything sort of falls into place. Another thing is Morgan Bartner is really going to be relied upon to step into that 5 role since Cecily Carl has graduated and gone to Lehigh.
Yes, she has.
As a coach. But talk about what Morgan's bringing.
Oh, she's been outstanding. We're doing a lot of analytics in practice and tracking shots and the shots that we want to take, and hers is just off the charts right now. I thought she played okay against Ohio U, especially on the offensive end. I thought that was better. We need to get her up to par with everybody else on the defensive end because she didn't have a lot of game minutes last year. So I'm looking for Morgan to step it up at that end of the floor, but she's providing an offensive punch at the post spot because we need that with the loss of Cecily and Alina, honestly, both of them graduating. So I really like what she's doing. She's taking the shots we want her to take. She's being aggressive. She doesn't back down. She plays hard. And she brings she runs the floor well, so she brings a little bit of speed and athleticism to that spot that we haven't had in a while, and I think we'll be able to run better in transition because your 5 player can get up and down the floor. I mean, on the track in the preseason, she was running the times the guards were running. So if that tells you anything, you know that the kid can get up and down and she can last for 40 minutes.
Jade Edwards doing big things in the off season, I guess still in the weight room, really popping some eyes as to what she has been able to do.
It's unbelievable. Jade, I think she has the squat record now for our team since we've been here, since Sean's been here and we've been here for 7 years. I think she already beat out Cecily's squat record as a sophomore, and Jade hadn't even started her sophomore season yet, so that says something. And then her vertical, she was tested with her standing vertical, and it's 30 inches. So that's pretty impressive. We were doing a little research on that, and we were talking about the NBA Combine and where she would stack up against those guys if she was doing the testing that they do, and she'd be like in 25th. It's ridiculous how good her standing vertical is. So we're hoping that goes up a couple more inches now that she's playing the 4 for us. So she's going to need to get some rebounds and use it to her advantage.
And what does that mean for the other players to watch what she's doing in the weight room?
They love it. I mean, they're constantly cheering for her when they go for like maxes and things like that. They're constantly cheering for her, and I think they see like, wow, she's got a bright future ahead of her if she can just get both ends of the floor down, because we keep talking about that. Another one that needs to work on her defense, but still, like, she could be an amazing player at this level, and just a different athlete, an athlete we've never had here.
Now, you only have one game under your belt so far, but a couple more coming up. You have Villanova and High Point are a couple of them. What are a couple of the biggest things that you want to shore up going into those games? Yeah,
I think heading into Villanova, we scrimmaged Penn, and Penn, I thought they were Stanford when they walked out on the floor. They were so huge. So Villanova is similar in the sense sense that like their point guards aren't that big, but 2 through 5 are tall. So I think the length is going to bother us, and we just need to make sure that we're using our fakes and trying to drive a little bit more to the rim, I think, because we're going to be contested at the 3, which is fine, but we also have to be able to make sure that we can put them off kilter a little bit by having them play one-on-one defense more than they probably would like. Again, another motion team, so they're very disciplined and smart. They make extra passes, so again, our defense is really going to be tested again. And then the rebounding aspect I'm a little concerned with because of their length, and their best player is a 5 player, and she's a beast. I mean, she attacks you off the bounce. She's physical down low, so we're going to have to maybe double or at least dig on her from time to time, because it's going to put a lot of pressure on Morgan and then a freshman Carla who's going to have to play in Morgan's place too. So it's going to be challenging. I mean, they're a Big East team, right? So they're a good team. Harry does a great job with his team. He has for 42 years. Right. He's actually retiring after this year, so we're going to wish him well. But yeah, it'll be a challenge. And then High Point was a new coach. So she came from Florida Gulf Coast. So it's the same offense we just played against at Ohio U, because the coaches came from the same place. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be, we're going to see the same offense for a 3rd game in a row. And I think for them, I haven't watched film on them yet, but what I hear from Emily Stallings, who's responsible for that scout, she was saying that they're young as well. So it'll be an interesting game in the sense that like whose youth shows up more than the other, I guess. And they're not going to be as big and as long. So it'll be more like playing a mid-major team like ourselves, which will be nice after the Ohio U and the Villanova game. So really looking forward to both games, obviously. I know the kids are excited, and they want to get the first one at home.
Well, best of luck on both of those games.
Thank you.
Coach Gebbia right there. That'll do it for this edition of Beyond the Arc with Coach Gebbia. For more, check out all the social media platforms. For Coach, I'm Dan. We'll see you next time.